So you're going to take the pins out from all the patterns, all the pins, even including the pins on the grain. Do not take the pattern off yet, because this is the part that we have to make sure we attach the right part to the right part. So I'm going to slide this over. I know this is number 1 and this is number 2. I'm going to take the top one from number 2 and the top one from number 1. This is really tricky. You guys have to do this correctly. And I'm going to put the right sides together of each of them. I'm going to lay this down, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. I'm going to take the bottom one, turn it over, and put the right sides together. We're now going to sew the inseam first. This is the inseam on this side. You're going to find your notches. So here's one notch. Here's the other notch. You need to align your notches first. Pin the notches. Then you're going to line up the edges from here down to here. Do not worry about what's happening anywhere else on the pants. All we care about is this line right here. You're going to pin your edge. Lay it nice and flat. Pin the edges. Make sure you're pinning on a flat surface. The edges should be even. One should not be overlapping the other one. You're going to pin both legs. So this one's done. And now if you look, it doesn't look like it's lined up, but it is. All I want to worry about is this line here, nothing else around the pants. Move that one over. I'm going to take my other one, lay everything flat. Look how cute those dogs are. Alright, I'm going to find my notches again. Here's one notch, here's the second notch. You're going to line up the notches, line them up first, pin, 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 if you put the pin on the angle, hit the table and come back up, it's a lot easier that way. Okay? Now we're going to go over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew the inseams. Alright, you're going to load the fabric into the sewing machine with the pins facing upward. You have to start at the very edge of the fabric, otherwise you're going to have a hole in the crotch. And you're using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. You're using the edge of the presser foot. So put it under the presser foot, so the needle is going to go under the very edge. I'm going to pull out my first pin. Remember, do not run over your pins. Go forward 5 stitches, and then reverse 5 stitches. Go forward 5 stitches. We're going to be now sewing the entire inseam of each of the legs. Stop. Take out the pin. reverse at the end, go forward. Remember, anytime you sew, you should reverse in the beginning and the end, and that's for a knot. Now you're going to grab your other leg. You can start at the bottom. It doesn't matter which end you start at, just as long as you're sewing the same way. I'm going to start off the edge of the fabric. So half the presser foot is on, half the presser foot is off, but the needle's going in the very end. I'm going to go forward 5, reverse 5. We're on a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is the edge of your presser foot. Go slower, I'm just going fast for demonstration purposes. Stop when you get to a pin. Make sure the edges are aligned. And reverse at the end, go forward, lift up your presser foot, cut your thread, and now we need to go iron our seams open. Alright, so you're going to spray the seam of the fabric with a little bit of water, open up your seam, and press the seam open. Remember, the iron's hot, keep the iron moving. This is the spot in this area I really want to make sure that that part is ironed open. So we iron one side, and we're going to iron the other side. Open up the leg. A little bit of water. Open up the seam. Press it open. All right, we'll go back over to the table and we'll pin the next part. Okay, so you're going to open up your one leg, have the right side facing upward. You're now going to take the opposite leg and put the right sides together. So this is where you're going to know if you put the pattern together correctly. I'm going to have 2 notches on this side, 2 notches here. We need to line up the 2 notches. And pin. And now we're going to look at the other side. There should be 1 notch here and 1 notch here. If you put the fabric together like this and you have 2 notches and 1 notch, it means the first step you did wrong. So make sure you come to me and have me check. So I'm going to line up the 2 notches, the 1 notch over here. I'm going to pin it. Now what I'm going to do is I want to do the center part. I want to look and line up the seams where the 2 pieces of fabric meet here and the 2 pieces of fabric meet here. I'm going to line them up evenly, make sure the edges are even, and we're going to pin that. And now we're going to pin this U. We're going to pin all the way along the edge. Make sure everything's nice and flat. All the edges are lined up. Line up this edge. this edge. These edges. Okay, now we'll go over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew the U. You're going to load up the top of the U. Make sure your pins are facing upward. Again, 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to take out my first pin. Go forward 5, reverse 5. Go forward. Remember, keep the edge of the fabric on the edge of the presser foot. And this is where it's really important that you didn't cut the notches too large or too long. Because right now I just passed my first set of notches and they're on this seam. If I cut too far and it went past where I need to sew, you're going to have a hole in your pants. So make sure you keep your notches cut properly when you're first cutting your pattern out. Be careful as you're turning the curve. Keep rotating your fabric around. Do not run over the pins. Go nice and slow. We want to make sure we keep the seam wide open. And the bottom one is open. We're going to sew it open. Take out your pins. Make it nice and slow and control the sewing machine. Come to the very end, all the way to the end, reverse, and go forward. Okay, take your fabric out, cut your thread, and let's go back to the table and pin the next part. Okay, so right now you might be saying, I don't understand how these are pants. What you need to do next is you open up this side like this, lay this on the table. You're going to flip these around and you're going to find the other waistband on the other side and flip this around and line it up, and now you have pants. Lay them back down. And now you're going to sew the side seams. So we need to find the notches. Again, there's going to be 2 notches over here, 2 and 2. You're going to line up those notches. And then I'm going to align this edge. And pin all the way down. bounce around to do the other side. And I have the 2 notches over here and the 2 notches over here. I'm going to line up the notches on this side first. Grab your pins. Lay everything nice and flat. Get out all the wrinkles. Fabric, starting at the top, on the right side. Make sure the needle is on the edge. Take out my first pin. Remember to go forward 5. We're on 1/4 inch seam allowance, the edge of the presser foot again. Back 5. Forward 5. You can see, as long as the edges are nice and straight, you can sew a nice straight line. Go to the very edge, stop, reverse, go forward. Lift up your presser foot. Now you're going to do the opposite side. We're going to start at the bottom of the pants because we want the needles, the pins, to be facing in the upward position so we can see them and not run over them. All right, you're going to start right off the edge. Go forward 5, back 5, 1/4 inch seam allowance, the edge of the presser foot. Keep the fabric nice and flat while you're sewing. Scooching a little bit. Come to the end, reverse, go forward, scrunched up a little bit, but it's okay. All right, take that pin out. Now we're going to go over to the ironing board and we're going to press open. We're going to press open all the seams that are along the top of your pajama pants. And you're going to press down about 6 inches. I want to press this open, all four seams. Press this open. pants. At some point, we'll cut all the loose strings off. Okay, we've got all 4 sides. Let's go back to the sewing machine.